Oluwatosin Owodunni, aka Cry Boy. He's a childhood friend of Mohbad. He attended the show at Ikorodu in Mohbad's company on 10 September 2023. At the end of the show, Mohbad and Ibrahim were engaged in a violent fight, during which Mohbad was injured. The management of the injury subsequently resulted in his death. So he's being treated as a suspect. Samson Balogun Eletu, aka Sam Larry, is a suspect who was arrested on allegation of being complicit in the death, as well as in relation to the videos that have gone viral about bullying and assaults, which in some quarters we believe perhaps had any link with his eventual death. He was arrested, he's still in detention. Abdulaziz Fashola, aka Naira Marley, was also arrested and is still currently in detention for similar allegations. In fulfillment of our assurances to keep Lagosians, Nigerians, and indeed the international community abreast of the status of the case. This briefing therefore focuses on police investigative actions since the investigation commenced, the interim findings on the strength of facts and of evidential value so far established, and grounds pending further actions in guiding the investigation to conclusion. The investigation process was directed at addressing two fundamental questions. Firstly, what are the immediate chain of events that occasioned the death of Mohbad? Secondly, who are the actors that could, within the context of extant criminal law and procedures, be evidentially held criminally liable, either individually or jointly, for the death of Mohbad on 12 September 2023. In addressing the latter component of these questions, due investigative actions were focused on the allegations of possible complicity in the death of Mohbad by Abdulaziz Adeshina, aka Naira Marley, and Samson Erinfolami Balogun, aka Sam Larry, who both were widely alleged in the social media of conspiring to serially bully and assault the deceased in his lifetime. It also focuses on allegations on the social media that the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency could be complicit in his death, following a viral video in which the late singer raised the narrative of his experience while in custody of the agency prior to his death. The intent of this component of the investigation is to establish if there is any evidential proof to circumstantially or directly link the allegations against Naira Marley, Sam Larry, and NDLA to the eventual death of Mohbad on 12 September 2023. Police investigative actions. Following the inauguration of the Special Investigation Team, detectives have undertaken the following actions and covered the underlisted investigative grounds. 1. Identification and interview of vital witnesses. As at today, a total of 26 vital witnesses, including the complainant, have so far been identified and interviewed, and statements recorded by detectives from them in aid of investigations. These include the following: Mr. Aloba Joseph Oluwabamiwo, the father of the deceased; Mrs. Abosede Aloba, mother of the deceased; Mrs. Kolawole Kemi Bose, deceased sister; Miss Aloba Blessing Oluwaseun, deceased sister; Mr. Aloba Adura Beni Shedrack, deceased brother; Mrs. Cynthia Adebanjo, deceased wife; Ms. Sheyi Awonoga, deceased manager; Ms. Adeyemo Boluwatife, aka Darosha, deceased personal assistant. Mr. Ajishegiri Sultan Ayobami, deceased DJ. Olanrewaju Idris Adedoja, deceased personal photographer. Mr. Idris Busari, deceased friend. Aderinto Ademola, aka Ade West, deceased friend. Mr. Adeyemi Olamide, deceased friend. Oladapo Oreoluwa, aka Lifestyle, deceased friend. Adesoya Adebiyi Dolapo, aka Ajay Singh, deceased friend. Fidelix Esabon is the driver to the Prado Jeep that the deceased hired to attend the concert in Ikorodu on 10 September 23, and in an attempt to punch Ibrahim during their physical brawl, Mohbad hit and broke the rear side glass, causing him injury on his right hand. For those of you that would be interested in that's the picture of the vehicle, the damage that led to the injury on Mohbad. Answer please. Mr. Soso Soberekon is the show promoter who invited Mohbad to perform at Ikorodu to promote his product, the General Bitters, on the night of 10 September 23, where the fight that led to the injury and subsequent chains of events started from. He has given detailed statements. Mr. Omoni Temidayo Raphael, aka Zlatan, he was one of the musicians that performed at the same event in Ikorodu on that night. Engineer Chinaka Jesse is the deceased neighbor whose vehicle was used to rush him to the hospital when he became unconscious. Dr. Olushola Joshua is the medical director of Kuramed Hospital in Lekki, Lagos, where the deceased was taken to and declared as confirmed as brought in dead on 12th September 2023. Dr. Beke Deborah Oluwatosin is a medical director who was on duty, and he was one that certified the deceased dead on the day he was brought in at about 15-20 hours. Ms. Fajulube Semitope, Ms. Abbas Aminat Abiola, and Mr. Oluwajobi Emmanuel. They are all staff of Kuramed Hospital who also witnessed when he was brought in dead. Dr. Owala Chigozie is the director and CMD of Perez Medical Care in Lekki. When they took him to the first hospital, the Kuramed, and he was certified dead, his family members and friends that took him there were not convinced. So they took the body from there again to Perez Hospital, where he was recertified as dead. Then Dr. Temitope Maxine Olumuyiwa. He is the medical director of Cornerstone Hospital, Akute, Ogun State, where the principal suspect, Beisayo Ogedengbe, claimed to have been trained as an auxiliary nurse. The written testimonies of the witnesses are largely of high evidential value, and they have aided in establishing the sequence of events leading to the death of Mohbad, the identification of the suspects, and the roles each played. They have also aided in gaining a clearer insight into the allegations of assault and bullying leveled against Sam Larry and Naira Marley. Suspects. 5 suspects have so far been identified, arrested, and detained and interrogated on the alleged roles in the sequence of events that led to the death of the singer. The summary is as follows. Ms. Feyi Sayo Ogedengbe is the auxiliary nurse who was contacted and invited by Yobami Sadiq, aka Spending, a friend of Mohbad, on 11 September 2023 to treat the singer at the deceased residence in Lekki. She eventually came on Tuesday, 12 September 2023 and administered 3 different injections, which are believed to have occasioned the chains of reactions that directly resulted in the eventual death of the singer. She is the principal suspect in the death of Mohbad. She acknowledged that it was the injections that she administered on the deceased that triggered the reactions which eventually led to Mohbad's death. Other expert opinions and witnesses' statements corroborated her admittance. Her actions of administering doses of tetanus toxoid, paracetamol, intravenous, and ceftriaxone injection, which was also administered intravenous on Mohbad at his residence, that's Mohbad's residence, on 12 September 2023, immediately triggered the reactions, including vomiting, goosebumps, and convulsion, that eventually resulted in the singer's death. This criminal liability is further heightened, granted the evidential fact that as an auxiliary nurse, she is not qualified to administer such medications or function as a qualified nurse. She also did this in a non-clinical environment and in a professionally negligent manner that negated standard medical protocols. 2. Mr. Yobami Sadiq, aka Spending. Sadiq is a friend to Mohbad who invited the auxiliary nurse to treat the deceased. He's been suspected of conspiracy in the death of the singer. His action in inviting a person known to him as an auxiliary nurse to attend to the deceased under a non-clinical setting occasioned Mohbad's death. He's being held for conspiracy to commit felony. Ibrahim Oluwatosin Owoduni, aka Prime Boy, is a childhood friend of Mohbad. He attended the show at Ikorodu in Mohbad's company on 10 September 2023. At the end of the show, Mohbad and Ibrahim were engaged in a violent fight during which Mohbad was injured. The management of the injury subsequently resulted in his death. So he's been treated as a suspect. Samson Balogun Eletu, aka Sam Larry, is a suspect who was arrested on allegation of being complicit in the death, as well as in relation to the videos that have gone viral about bullying and assaults, which in some quarters we believe perhaps had any link with his eventual death. He was arrested, he's still in detention. Abdulaziz Fashola, aka Naira Marley, was also arrested and is still currently in detention for similar allegations. Other actions that have been undertaken by the Special Investigation Team include exhumation, autopsy, and toxicology tests, which were undertaken on 21st September 2023. The results of the autopsy and the toxicology tests are being awaited. Investigation letters were also dispatched officially to National Drug and Law Enforcement Agency with a view to getting their official representations on the allegations raised in one of the videos by the deceased about his experience when he was arrested. We also forwarded investigation letters to Nigeria Medical Association, the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria, with a view to getting their expert opinion on the conduct and processes of the principal suspect, the auxiliary nurse, in attending to Mohbad. Letters were also dispatched to the CMD, Cornerstone Hospital, Akute, Ogun State, to clarify the role of the hospital in the training of the principal suspects. And from the inquiries, she's not just an auxiliary nurse. Currently, she has no job, so she operates from home to attend to anybody. So she's a quack, by our own definition, who is a freelancer. Letters were also dispatched to Nigeria Immigration Service with a view to confirming the travel history of some of the suspects, particularly Naramali and Sam Larry. Investigation was extended also to CMD Kuramed Hospital and the CMD Perez Hospital, where the lead singer was taken to as brought in dead. Statements were recorded from them and their staff. Crime scene visits. Detectives have also visited the residence of the deceased at Lekki. The intention was to review the CCTV footage in the house. Unfortunately, the CCTV was out of order. It's not been functional even before this incident. However, the visit led to the recovery of remnants of drugs and injections and other test kits administered by the auxiliary nurse, including 1 tetanus toxoid injection, 3 used syringes, 2 used syringes filled with suspected medicine contents, 1 packet of ceftriaxone solution, procaine penicillin injection, empty broken pack of diclofenac injection, paracetamol diluted with water, water for injection, 6 hand gloves, 1 bandage, 1 plaster, and 1 iodine solution. Also separately recovered is the mobile phone of the deceased. All have been registered as exhibits. We also visited, the investigation team also visited Kuramed Hospital, Perez Hospital, Chandelier Nightclub, VI, which represents one of the scenes where the deceased in the viral video was assaulted at the Elegushi Beach also. Medical opinion. In addition, as part of investigative efforts that are aimed at obtaining expert opinion in the likely cause of death of Mohbad through a professional review of the actions of auxiliary nurse Feyisayo Ogedengbe, the principal suspect. On 26 September 2023, a team of medical doctors, pharmacists, and nurses drawn from the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria, Nigeria Medical Association, and the Nigeria Police Force Medical Services jointly interviewed the auxiliary nurse. The detailed report, which is being utilized as an expert opinion and critical evidence of high prosecutorial value, has been submitted. It specifically identifies some illegal acts and professional negligence in the manner the drugs were administered on the deceased by the principal suspect. The report also confirmed that as an auxiliary nurse, Ms. Feyisayo does not have the competence, knowledge, brief, or certification to diagnose, prescribe, or administer drugs and injections on patients, as she was supposed to work under the directive and supervision of a qualified medical doctor or nurse while on duty. The report also strongly projected that there is a link between the medical negligence of auxiliary nurse Feisayo Ogedengbe and the death of Mohbad. Sequence of events directly accounting for the death of Mohbad. Based on investigation, this represents the sequence of events that eventually culminated in his death. On 10th September 2023, Ireoluwa Oladimeji Aloba, aka Mohbad, attended a musical concert at Ikorodu Town Hall at about 21:00 hours on the invitation of one Soso Soberekon to promote the General Bitters beverages, which he's marketing. Mohbad arrived the venue of the event at about 19:00 hours in company of his wife, Mrs. Cynthia Omowumi Adebanjo, and their 5-month-old baby. His childhood friend, Ibrahim Oluwatosin Owoduni Prime Boy, and Mohbad's personal assistant, Adeyemo Boluwatife, alias Darosa, all of whom were in the Prado Jeep, which was hired by Mohbad for the events and driven by Felix Esambo. Others that accompany Mohbad in separate vehicles include Ayobami Sadiq, Spending, Aduragbemi Shedrack Aloba, who is the younger brother of Mohbad, Ajisegiri Sultan Ayobami, Mohbad's DJ, Aderinto Fawaz Ademola Adewest, Mohbad's friend, and Olanriwaji Idris Adedoja, alias OG, his photographer. Other musical acts that performed along with Mohbad at the show included Zlatan, Seun Kuti, and DJ Fokati. At the end of his performance at about 23:00 hours, as he made to exit the venue with his entourage, he discovered that his vehicle had been blocked by other vehicles, while some of his fans and area boys also moved him. Mohbad, who from witnesses' evidence was said to be tipsy and hyperactive, became infuriated, and as he attempted to come down to clear the road, Ibrahim, his friend, prevailed on him not to do so for his personal safety. This further infuriated Mohbad, and it eventually degenerated into a hot argument between the two of them and physical fights. In the course of an attempt by Mohbad to hit Ibrahim with a blow, Mohbad missed him and smashed his hand against the window of their Prado Jeep, causing him an injury on his forehand, and he bled profusely. Eventually, the situation was brought under control, and they all departed for the Lekki residence of Mohbad, excluding Ibrahim. Upon arrival at home at about 02:00 hours of 11 September 2023, Mohbad refused to go to the hospital to treat his injury, despite persistent persuasion by his wife, staffs, and friends, including the Prado Jeep driver, whose vehicle was damaged. Later in the day, the injured hand, which was still bleeding on the second day, started getting swollen, causing Mohbad unbearable pains. How it got swollen by the second day. So at this point, his friend Ayobami Sadiq, Spending, who noticed the increasing pains, further insisted that he must go to the hospital for treatment. Mohbad still resisted and opted to call his personal nurse, identified as Nurse Fumi, who unfortunately was not available. At this point, Ayobami Sadiq, Spending, offered to call his own nurse to attend to Mohbad. That nurse turned out to be the auxiliary nurse, Miss Feisayo Ogedengbe, a suggestion that Mohbad consented to. When Ms. Feisayo was contacted at about 14:30 hours on Monday, 11 September 2023, she was unavailable but promised to come the following day, being Tuesday, 12 September 2023. Ahead of her arrival, she requested that a picture of the swollen hand/injury area be videoed and snapped and sent to her for assessment to guide on the medication to come along with. This was eventually done. At about 14:35 hours on 12th September 2023, Ms. Feisayo eventually arrived armed with one pack of ceftriaxone injection, one vial paracetamol injection, tetanus toxoid injection, one vial procaine penicillin injection, 7 ampoules of IM diclofenac, tincture iodine, several needles and syringes. Ms. Feisayo administered the tetanus toxoid on the arm of Mohbad and gave both the paracetamol and ceftriaxone injection intravenously. Immediately the ceftriaxone injection was administered, Ms. Feisayo confirmed that Mohbad started vomiting, while goose pimples appeared on his face and all over his body. At this point, it dawned on Ms. Feisayo that Mohbad was reacting to the administered medications. She consequently ran out to procure hydro and nizafene infusion. While at the pharmacy in the locality, she got a call that Mohbad had started convulsing. Eventually, Cynthia Omoduni Adebanjo, Adura Agbeni Shedrack Aloba, Olanrewaju Idris Adedoja, Ayinde Habib Idowu Daramola, Aderinto Fawaz, and Ms. Feisayo rushed him to the hospital in the vehicle of engineer China Jesse, their neighbor. Unfortunately, he was pronounced dead on arrival at Kurabed Hospital, Lekki. Not convinced, the team moved his body to Perez Hospital, Lekki, where his death was recertified. A death certificate was later issued by Kuramed Hospital. Mohbad's father, who had earlier been contacted on the development, late Mohbad's house, and after a short meeting, resolved to move the body to Ikorodu for burial, which was done the following day, 13 September 2023, at about 14:00 hours. This is the narrative. Now, allegations of bullying, assault, and possible complicity in the death of Mohbad by Sam Larry and Naira Marley. During investigation, series of allegations of bullying, threat to life, and possible complicity in the death of Mohbad by Naira Marley and Sam Larry were raised from various quarters. This prompted the special investigation team to widen the scope of their investigation to that aspect. Several videos touching on the allegations were analyzed and witnesses were interviewed. Many of the witnesses earlier listed, as the 26 witnesses, many of them alleged that the deceased was indeed bullied and assaulted several times by Naira Marley and Sam Larry and their gangs. It was affirmed that sometime in 2019, the deceased was allegedly signed by Naira Marley into a record label known as Malian Music Limited. Due to disagreement in terms of the contract, the deceased pressed for the revocation of his contractual relationship with Malian Music, while also pushing to relieve his then manager, who was a brother to Naira Marley. It was alleged that these moves eyed the suspects, who in consequence allegedly severally conspired, bullied, and assaulted the deceased. It was also asserted by some witnesses with corroborative video evidence that before his demise, Mohbad had raised alarm that his life was being threatened. that he was being bullied and assaulted by Naira Marley and Sam Larry. Upon arrest, Abdulaziz Abdeshinoj Fashola Naira Marley and Samson Erinfolami Balogun Sam Larry denied allegations of complicity in the death of Mohbad by pleading an alibi that they were both out of the country when the incident occurred, and they were not in any manner involved in the chain of events that occasions his eventual death between 10th to 12th September 2023. However, there are preponderance of evidence linking both Naira Marley and Sam Larry to the allegations of threat to life, cyber-stalking, and sundry crimes committed against Mohbad in his lifetime, and they are being so held liable. Interim findings. From investigations so far conducted, it has been established as follows. 1. The chain of events that directly and specifically led to the death of Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, aka Mohbad, occurred between 10th to 13th September 2023, and the location of incident stretched over Ikorodu and Lekki, Lagos. Eisayo Ogedengbe, female, who as an auxiliary nurse administered multiple and highly potent injections, which triggered an immediate reaction that eventually occasioned the death of Mohbad, is the principal suspect in the homicide case. Eisayo Ogedengbe is not a qualified registered nurse, and her illegal and medical negligence are believed to have been directly responsible for the chain reactions and eventual death of Mohbad at 15:43 hours on 12 September 2023. The time within which auxiliary nurse Ogedengbe administered the injections on Mohbad, through his reactions, convulsion, and eventual death, is confirmed to be within less than an hour, covering from 1440 hours when the principal suspect administered the sets of injections and 1543 hours when Mohbad was confirmed dead at Kuramed Hospital. Aside her admittance to the consequences of her actions, the report of the medical panel that reviewed auxiliary nurse Feisayo's actions concluded that she went beyond her limitations as an auxiliary nurse by administering intravenously ceftriaxone on the deceased, and that this, from their review, was the most likely cause of the anaphylactic reaction, which could have been promptly resolved and his death possibly prevented if the disease was treated in the hospital. Ibrahim Oluwatosin Owodunni Prime Boy is also considered as complicit in the chain of events that led to the eventual death of Mohbad, as the injury that culminated in actions which led to his death was sustained in the course of physical combat between him and Mohbad. Ayobami Sodiq Splendin is also considered complicit in the homicide case for inviting Feisayo Ogedengbe, whom he knew to be an unqualified and unregistered nurse, to administer the potent medications that eventually triggered reactions leading to Mohbad's death. While Abdulaziz Fashola Naira Marley and Samson Balogun Sam Larry denied allegations of criminal liability in the death of Mohbad and pleaded an alibi to justify their not being complicit in the incidents that occurred from 10 to 12 September 2023. There are ample electronic and credible witnesses evidence linking them to cyberbullying, cyber-stalking, threat to life, assaults, occasioning harm, and conduct likely to cause breach of the peace against the deceased in his lifetime, following their roles in the incidents that occurred at the Chandelier Club and Elegushi Beach in June 2023 as well as the alleged assault on Mohbad in October 2022 around the residence of Naira Marley at Lekki. Sam Larry admitted that he had multiple physical confrontations with Mohbad to get him to refund the 2 million naira, which he claimed he paid to the late singer for a show which he claimed he did not honor. There are documentary evidence, international travel records, confirming that both Abdulaziz Fashola, Naira Marley, and Samson Balogun, Eletu Sam Larry, were not in Lagos, Nigeria, when the events that directly led to Mohbad's death occurred between 10th to 12th September 2023. While Naira Marley was out of the country from 21st August to 3rd October when he reported and was arrested, when he returned and was arrested, Sam Larry was out of the country from 4th to 28th September when he also returned to the country and was arrested. On the demise of the deceased, his remains were buried at Ikorodu by his relatives on 13th September 2023, prior to the uproar that greeted his death and which informed the launch of the homicide investigation. On 21st September 2023, the corpse was exhumed, and on same date at about 16:00 hours, autopsy was performed on the remains of the deceased, and vital specimens were taken and sent to Lagos State DNA and Forensic Center for toxicology examination. The reports are still being awaited. Also being awaited is the official response from NDLEA on one of the viral videos containing allegations by the singer on his experience at the agency's Lagos office sometime in October 2022. Conclusion. Although the results of the autopsy and toxicology tests are being awaited, substantial grounds have been covered well enough by the Special Investigation Team to support the processing of the case file to the Director of Public Prosecution. Consequently, the case file is being duplicated and forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecution for vetting and legal advice, the outcome of which will inform further investigation, investigative actions, and prosecution. While reassuring that the command will sustain its firm determination to ensure justice in this case, I wish to assure that the members of the public will be availed of any further development in relation to the outcome of the autopsy and toxicology reports, DPP advice, feedback from NDLEA, and any other developments in the investigation into this case. I thank you for your coverage.
Thank you very much for coming. Ordinarily, this should be question and answer segments, but I think the report is comprehensive enough. It has covered every question you might want to ask. So, we have come to the end of this. Thank you very much. Thank you.